Hello, and welcome to Mission 3422 Red Horizons. For this year, our mission statement is to begin a new era of humanity, one not limited to the Earth's influence. We will also lay the ground for future Mars missions. What this means is that we are looking at expanding the world. Currently, we have explored the Earth, its orbit, its oceans, its mountains, the moon. Everything is around the Earth, but we want to expand the human presence to another planet. And for us, the most sensible place to go is Mars. We are also wanting to make sure that this won't be just one random Mars mission. This is part of a future exploration, future community, and a future portion of the human world. For administrative goals for this year, we want mission to be enjoyable. We want to make sure that everyone enjoys mission and has a great experience. So we're going to make sure to give you plenty of time to eat lunch. We're going to give you fun activities that you can do. It'll be challenging, but also you can still have fun with your friends. So we're going to make sure that mission is enjoyable as well as everything else that it is. We also want it to be educational. So it is a school-related program. We do have to do some learning if we're going to get you out of class for 3 days. So it's important that you learn as much as you can about all sorts of different things you do at CASA. So mission is going to test you over all sorts of different things, and hopefully there will be someone that has knowledge on that subject. And if not, then you will definitely have to learn some. We also want mission to be engaging. So while we are doing challenges during mission, we will also have ongoing puzzles and tasks for you to complete when you're not actively engaged in a challenge. So that's sort of to make sure that everyone's doing something at all times. We don't have people that are just bored and sitting around, because that's really not fun for anyone. So to better understand where we are for mission 3422, we need to go back a couple of years to mission 3220, which was named Tranquility. So in Tranquility, we were exploring the moon. We launched a rover called Nautilus to the moon's surface, and it roamed around and shows our location for our moon base. And then we took that design and actually reused it later for similar survey rovers on Mars. So we've selected our base location on Mars, and we're all good to go. We also constructed the orbiting station Kokmeier in lunar orbit. So we have this station. It is in a polar orbit around the moon, which means that it actually covers over the entire lunar surface every so many cycles. And missions that go to the moon and to the Mars will stop at Kokmeier to prepare for landing, to reconfigure, to get new resources, whatever they need before they land on the moon or go to Mars or whatever it is they're doing. We also have Vanguard, which is our moon habitat. We used moon dust to 3D print it near the lunar South Pole, and it serves as a base for moon surface operations. So we've actually been harvesting resources on the moon, such as water, fuel, and oxygen, and sending it to Kokmeier in preparation for mission 3422. Last year, in mission 3331, Ares Ascending, we built Aeneas, which is a highly advanced space station that we initially built in lunar orbit around Kokmeier, but it can actually undock from there and it moves to Mars and then it enters Martian orbit. So that's where it is right now. It has our astronauts and our supplies on board and it's in Martian orbit, ready to go. We also sent a whole bunch of supply runs to Mars. So we have a Mars ascent vehicle, a habitat, rovers, food supplies, whatever else our astronauts will need to live on the surface of Mars. And then finally, we built Ares, which is a station on the surface of Mars. And so this was actually built largely by rovers ahead of time. And it's a modular station so that we can add on to it in future missions. So that way we're not just using it once, we're actually going to use it now and then again in the future. Here's a quick graph just to give you a summary. As you can see over on the Earth, we have CASA Lab on the Earth's surface. On the moon, we have our Vanguard base on the surface and Kokmeier in orbit. We have Aeneas, which shuttles between lunar and Martian orbit, and then we have Ares on the surface of Mars. Our primary objectives for this year are to set up a semi-permanent base, also known as Ares, for continued life on Mars. It's going to be modular, prepared for future expansion. We're not just going to use it once. We want to search the Martian surface for signs of life. So this is going to be phospholipids, all sorts of organic macromolecules, things like that, where we can look and say, hey, there's a possibility that some sort of life form similar to what we find on Earth was once here. And we also want to make an expandable power network that works in all weather conditions. So whether that's windy, whether it's sunny, whether there's a dust storm, whatever, we want to make sure that our astronauts are prepared and they don't go without power. And all of this is preparing for future missions to Mars. So nothing we're doing is just going to be wasted. As far as secondary objectives, these are some other things we're going to try, and these aren't crucial to the success of our mission, but they're just something that we can work on if we have the time and if things go well. So we want to search for water. We know that Mars once contained sources of water, and we can analyze the terrain on the surface to understand where the water was, what may have happened to it, where it had gone, and sort of get an idea of how it worked. We want to practice farming. So we brought enough food for this time because we don't want everyone to starve if things don't work out. But obviously that's really wasteful and we don't want to have to do that in the future. So we're going to test farming techniques. We want to build an observatory on Mars. We want to be able to look at the stars, galaxies, things like that. A lot of techniques as far as astronomy goes require observatories of different distances apart. Right now, we're really limited by being on Earth. So having an observatory on Mars gives us a huge hundreds of millions of miles, depending on conditions, of space with which we can use to sort of get a better picture of the universe. We also want to use lasers to communicate. Right now, all the communication systems that we're using are radio-based and they're really inefficient. So we're going to try to get something a little bit better. We want to test new technology. For the purposes of our program, that's going to be student projects. We're going to be working those into mission however we can. And then we also want to analyze Mars to understand more of its long-scale geologic history so we can get an idea of how life might have once existed, what may have happened to it, where we should look, all that sort of thing. And finally, we need to return home. So we will first need to prepare the Mars ascent vehicle and escape the Mars surface. We'll then get into Martian orbit with Aeneas, and we will dock with Aeneas and return back to lunar orbit with Kochmeyer. And then Aeneas will stay at the moon while our astronauts will return to Earth. Here is a quick video sort of giving an idea of that mission.
Humanity has always looked for a new place to explore. When we covered all land, we looked in the oceans and the skies. We traveled to the moon and looked to the stars. It is time to go farther. Today, we look towards a new planet. With the goal of not just visiting, but staying. This is Mission 3422, Red Horizons.
Okay, so what you just saw there in that video was our CASA logo for this year. That was designed by one of our CASA members. And I hope to see you all at the beginning of Mission 3422 Red Horizons. We're going to start on March 7th, 2022. It's going to start at the beginning of the school day, but we're planning to actually touch down on the Martian surface around 9:30 a.m. So I hope to see you there, and thank you for watching.